Shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Racha Kodash. Double honors to the elders and the apostles of Great Millstone, and peace and blessings to the elect. And today we're going to go into the book of Psalms, the 106th chapter, Israel's rebellion and the Lord's deliverances. Praise ye the Lord Yahweh, oh give thanks unto the Lord, for he is good, for his mercy endureth forever. And that's that's not an understatement. The Lord's mercy endureth forever. We still obtain mercy from the Lord today. And look at the history of Israel, and tell me who else, if they were the Most High, would have been able to be that long suffering that we would still be even in existence today. Who can utter, and even today, the Lord is still going to show mercy to Israel. Who can utter the mighty acts of the Lord? Who can show forth all his praise? Blessed are they that keep judgment, and he that doeth righteousness at all times. So who are they that keep judgment? Those that keep the ways of Yahweh Bahasham Yahweh Shai, that keep them in their mind, they do it, they follow it, they live after it, right? And they doeth righteousness at all times, meaning they live their life after or patented after the ways of righteousness. Verse 4, remember me, O Yahweh, with the favor that thou bearest unto thy people. O visit me with thy salvation, that I may see the good of thy chosen, that I may rejoice in the gladness of thy nation, that I may glory with thine inheritance. See, and we're waiting for that. We're waiting for the good that the Lord has for us, because we are the chosen of the Lord, right? We are the chosen people. And we're waiting to rejoice, right, in the gladness that the Lord has reserved for our nation and the glory of the inheritance. We have sinned with our fathers. We have committed iniquity. We have done wickedly. Our fathers understood not thy wonders in Egypt. They remembered not the multitude of thy mercies, but provoked him at the sea, even at the Red Sea. Because what happened when we got there? Immediately. I mean, it's not like the Lord had just been continuously plaguing the country that kept you as slaves or anything, right? It's not like he just had, slew all their firstborns and preserved yours alive or anything. And it's not like he had you spoil them and then deliver you from that captivity. And immediately you get to the Red Sea, right? The Gulf of Suez, and and you already got them crying out, oh, the Lord is going to see, this is why we should stay with the Egyptians. What are we going to do now? Is God brought us here to kill us? Bro, you haven't even crossed over yet. And you're already provoking the Lord. Nevertheless, he saved them for his name's sake, that he might make his mighty power to be known. So not only did the Lord, get that reputation over Egypt, but also, for his namesake. Remember, many times he wanted to destroy Israel. And what did Moses do? Moses pled on their behalf, calling to the Lord's remembrance, saying, look, Lord, what about your name? What are the nations going to say? That you couldn't deliver them? That's why you destroyed them? He rebuked the Red Sea also, and it was dried up. So he led them through the depths, as through the wilderness. Now, not the whole entire body wasn't dried up. What it means by dried up is that the sea was parted in half at that point where they were standing, and they could walk on dry land across it. And on one side, it was like a wall of water, and on the other side, it was like another wall of water, and they walked in between. And he saved them from the hand of him that hateth them, which were the Egyptians, and redeemed them from the hand of the enemy. And the waters covered their enemies, and there was not one of them left, and that was Pharaoh and his chariots, when they pursued after Israel, and the waters came down and covered them. Then believed they his words, they sang his praise. They soon forgot his works. Ah, boy. So after being delivered, everything is all sweet, and then, as it says, they forget his works. Okay? Just as quickly as they were rejoicing, they quickly forgot what the Lord had done for them. They waited not for his counsel, but lusted exceedingly in the wilderness, and tempted God in the desert. And he gave them their request, but sent leanness into their soul. You see, because Here, the Lord granted them, their request, but he, as it says in NLT, he sent a plague along with it. They asked for quail. He sent them quail, but that wasn't the only thing. That wasn't the only thing he sent them. So that was that plague, right, which came in the form of fire, right, came in the form of sending serpents to bite them, came in the form of different ways. They envied Moses also in the camp, and Aaron, the saint of the Lord, and that was spearheaded by Korah, Dathan, and Abiram. The earth opened up and swallowed up Dathan, or the earth opened and swallowed up Dathan and covered the company of Abiram, because they were wicked men that were they thought that they were coming against Aaron and Moses, or Moses and Aaron, but in actuality, they were coming against the leadership and the authority that the Lord had set up. And a fire was kindled in their company, the flame burned up the wicked. They made a calf in Horeb, that was the golden calf, and worshipped the molten image, which was an idol. Thus they changed their glory into the similitude of an ox, and their glory is the glory of their God, into the similitude of an ox that eateth grass. So the glory that's supposed to be attributed to our God, they took that and changed it from being his to glorifying the likeness of an ox by saying, hey, these are the gods that delivered you out of Egypt. They forgot God, their Savior, which had done great things in Egypt, wondrous works in the land of Ham, and terrible things by the Red Sea. So all these things the Lord did for them, just like that. Unappreciative. Therefore he said that he would destroy them. Had not Moses, his chosen, stood before him in the breach to turn away his wrath, lest he should destroy them. So the Lord was ready. He was like, look, stand aside. I'm about to destroy them. Yet they despised the pleasant land. They believed not his word, but murmured in their tents and hearkened not unto the voice of the Lord. It's like, damn, bro. Like these people, man. It's like that disobedient child. You tell them, don't do something, don't do something, don't do something. And they do, and then you got to beat their ass. Then they cry, and then they say they're sorry, they won't do it again. You literally go to your room and close the door. 2 seconds later, they're doing the same thing. You're like, oh my goodness. Oh my God. Tyrese Gibson. It says here, but murmured in their tents and hearkened not unto the voice of the Lord Yahweh. Therefore he lifted up his hand against them to overthrow them in the wilderness. And that's why, as it says, to overthrow their seed also among the nations and to scatter them in the lands. That's why you had that old generation that didn't make it out the wilderness. The Lord, see, when you read the story, the Lord really was ready. We were at the entrance, about to enter into the land. And because of the disobedience and the lack of faith that Israel had, oh, the land is too much. The people we're like grasshoppers in their sight. We can't go and take that land. Okay, the Lord said, all right, cool. You wanna play that game? Cool. Turn around. Now you're gonna be here for 40 years. Oh, wait, 40 years. Oh, no. We changed our minds. We're good. We could definitely take shit. I was just a little weak. I got some food in me now. I'm good now. No. And then the Lord told him, no, you didn't believe. You're gonna die in this wilderness. You were talking about it had been better if you had died in the wilderness. Okay, you're gonna die in this wilderness. 40 years. Okay. It says to overthrow their seed among the nations, right, which the Lord did, scattering us among the nations through captivity, right? The Assyrians, the Babylonians, the Greeks. Because even though the Greeks didn't do a mass deportation of our people, there was a scattering through the persecution under the reign of Antiochus Epiphanes. And a lot of Israelites also fled from the land. And then the Romans, right? So the Lord scattered us into their lands. They joined themselves also onto Baal Peor, right? And ate the sacrifices of the dead. And this is during the book of Numbers, during the time of Balaam, right? Balaam and Balak. Balak, the king of Moab, called for Balaam to come and curse Israel. Balaam wasn't able to curse Israel, but he counseled Balak to get Israel to go off through using the daughters of Moab to entice the men of Israel to worship their gods. That's how they were joined onto Baal Peor. Thus they provoked him to anger with their inventions, and the plague brake in upon them. Then stood up Phinehas and executed judgment, and so the plague was stayed. And what was the judgment he did? When that Israelite man brought in the Midianite woman right in front of everybody and went up into the tent, guess what? Phinehas went up in there behind him. Why? Because she was causing him to go off. He had probably just come from eating of their sacrifices. So Phinehas, inflamed with the zeal of the Lord, took a spear, and he went in after them and thrust them. He killed both of them at the same time. And he says he thrust the spear through from I think it was from the back. So you know what this guy was doing, So from behind the man, straight into the woman. He basically pierced them like a freaking barbecue or a kebab stick. You know what a kebab is? This is what it looks like. Shish kebab, they call it, right? See this right here? Well, once it loads, they got the protein, I'm gonna call it that, pierced on the stick. Yeah, that's how he pierced them. All right. And the Lord was pleased with that. So the plague was stayed. It says, and that was counted unto him for righteousness, unto all generations forevermore. They angered him also at the waters of strife, the waters of Meribah. And it's just like a continual, not to mention, they hadn't even, remember, at this point, they weren't even in the land yet. They weren't even in the land yet. It's like, imagine this, right? Imagine a friend of yours or a relative asks you, they beseech you, they beg you. They say, please, 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 I need you to babysit my son or daughter or whatever, or my nephew or something. And it'll only be a couple of hours. And then they say, no, they're good. They're going to be good. And you already know how kids their age are. But you're like, you know what? All right, it's only going to be a couple of hours. You should be all right. The second the person leaves, 5 minutes later, the demon is already coming out. Talking about, you turn around and do this, climbing on your ceiling, talking about we are legion, doing a 360 with his head. I'm over exaggerating, but the point is, this kid has been a rebellious demon. 5 minutes in, you already know it's about to be hell. You're like, bruh, it hasn't even been 10 minutes since your mom left. I expected some rebellion, but bro, you're on 120 and it's only been 5 minutes. Lord have mercy. How long is this going to be? I'm never babysitting this person's kids again. So the Lord here is like, we haven't even gotten to the promised land. How are you supposed to be people that keep my laws, statutes, and commandments in the promised land, and you're being this rebellious, and we haven't even made it there yet? So you want to talk about long suffering? And then when they got to the promised land, then they just kicked it into full gear. Man. So verse 32, they angered him also at the waters of strife, so that it went ill with Moses for their sake. See, damn, they just were so bad. They even cost Moses the ability to go into the promised land, because then he was pissed, and he in his anger he didn't obey the Lord, because the Lord told him to command a rock, and it would bring forth water, and he smote it, and it still brought forth water, but it didn't glorify the Lord the way he wanted it to. And it went ill with Moses, because then he couldn't see the promised land. See, because of them. And he said it. Moses was hurt. He was hurt by that, man. Because he asked the Lord again, and the Lord said, no. The Lord said, don't ask me any more about this. I already told you not going there. And Moses in Deuteronomy, go and read it. He said it. He said, look, because of your sakes, the Lord was angry at me, and I can't go into the promised land because of you. It says, because they provoked his spirit, so that he spake unadvisedly with his lips. And that's basically in not glorifying the Lord the way that the Lord wanted him to. It's not that he cursed the Lord. They did not destroy the nations concerning whom the Lord commanded them. Right? When we went to the land, we were supposed to destroy all of them off the land, to have no influence of them, but Israel didn't do that. But were mingled among the heathen and learned their works. So it's bad enough you didn't destroy them all, but the very reason why the Lord said destroy them all, you fell for that trap. Yea, they sacrificed their sons and their daughters unto devils, and shed innocent blood. That's literal. Okay, they were doing, sacrifices onto Molech, causing their children to pass through the fire. That's literal, right? Go and watch the video that I did on the letter of Manasseh, right? I went into that, a bit more detail about the passing your children through the fire. That was a very, very satanic and crazy thing. They shed innocent blood, even the blood of their sons and of their daughters, your own children. And when they were sacrificing, when they were passing them through the fire, they would be, the priests would be playing drums and sounding trumpets really loud, so that the cries of the burning baby wouldn't deter the parent that was offering them. It says, whom they sacrificed onto the idols of Canaan. Now get this, right? You really took your child and had them, say for one example, had them put your baby in a furnace or on a heated heated hands, which would be like the statue of Moloch. They took your baby, your infant, they put your baby alive on this heated bronze altar or idol, and it was burning alive and dying and screaming. And you're watching that, and they're chanting, and they're playing drums, and they're they're blowing, the trumpet and stuff like that. And you're doing all of that as an offering to an idol that is not alive. So that's murder. Okay? You literally, that's why it says they shed innocent blood. That's what you're doing. The idol is just that. It's a statue. It doesn't breathe, it doesn't move, it doesn't talk. If it's a piece of wood, it doesn't breathe, it doesn't move, it doesn't talk. So you went and basically had your baby killed, murdered, for an idol, for something that's not in existence. It's not alive. Bruh. Like, yo, how, like, you don't even have words for how stupid and ridiculous and wicked such a thing is. But you know what? That's why the Lord is like, I'm not going to give you words for it. I'm going to give you judgment. Because you didn't want to hear my words. Why should I hear yours? Why should I give you words anymore? I'll just give you actions. So it says here, and the land was polluted with blood. Thus were they defiled with their own works, and went a whoring after their own inventions, which were their idols. Therefore was the wrath of the Lord Yahweh kindled against his people. And going a whoring is like, going astray from the Lord, right? Like a whore goes astray from her husband and sleeps with other men. They went away from their God and followed the idols of these other nations. Therefore, the wrath of the Lord kindled against his people, right? His wrath was kindled against them, in so much that he abhorred his own inheritance. You see that? And let's go into that in the NLT. That is why the Lord's anger burned against his people, and he abhorred his own special possession. Damn, you made the Lord to... And he gave them into the hand of the heathen, and they hated them, and they that hated them ruled over them. So when you look at how harsh some of our captivities were, also look at what we did to trigger the Lord to put us in that. Their enemies also oppressed them, and they were brought into subjection under their hand. Many times did he deliver them, but they provoked him with their counsel, and were brought low for their iniquity. Yeah, and when you go into the book of Judges, you'll see that time and time and time again. And you're thinking, surely this time they'll get it. Nope, they get delivered. They get comfortable, and then boom, right back to it. Right back at it again. It's like a girl that goes outside, gets kidnapped. They finally find her and help her out. Tell her stay home. She goes back outside again. It's like, yo, what are you doing? What are you doing right now? Right? It says here they provoked him with their counsel, right? Their wicked counsels, and were brought low for their iniquity. And low meaning, brought into a low place, into derision, to being subservient to these other nations because of their wickedness. Nevertheless, he regarded their affliction when he heard their cry. So even still, when he heard Israel crying and crying out to him, the Lord regarded their affliction, right? He had mercy. And he remembered for them his covenant and repented according to the multitude of his mercies. And that's having mercy. That's why we would go in captivity. Then eventually, we would get a break. We would get relief because the Lord would have mercy. He made them also to be pitied of all those that carried them captives. Save us, O Yahweh our God, and gather us from among the heathen, to give thanks unto thy holy name, and to triumph in thy praise. And one example of this was when the Persians came up into power, right, under Cyrus, and then Darius, which gave us, leeway, and then Artaxerxes to go and rebuild our temple and the wall and so on. Even during the time of, Xerxes with Esther. But here, right, as it says, save us, right, and gather us from among the heathen. And that's what the Lord is coming back to do. That's what he's sending Yahweh Shai back to do. That's what we're praying for, so we can thank his holy name and triumph in his praise. Blessed be the Lord, the God of Israel, from everlasting to everlasting. And let all the people say, Amen. So let it be. Praise ye the Lord. And that brings us to the end of the book of Psalms, the 106th chapter. Lord willing, that was edifying to the elect. In closing, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Rakha Kodash. And until next time, Shalom.